welcome to my allotment. It's March and I'm doing my March harvest to show you what I'm harvesting at the moment. If you've not already subscribed to my channel, if you could please do so, because you'll get lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my home garden, my allotment and also my home kitchen. Now, it was only a few days ago that we had sleet and snow and wind, and today it's absolutely gorgeous. So the perfect day to be going around and showing you what little's left actually, because there's not that much this time of year, but there is still a little bit that I'm still harvesting. So as we walk round, the rhubarb's coming along really well, but it's not quite ready to harvest yet. But I reckon if it stays this mild, it won't be that long and I'll be getting some rhubarb in the next week or two. So as we walk round, the first thing I can harvest is some kale. Now, like most things this time of year, it is on borrowed time because it will start to bolt, and I also will start to need to clear the ground for other things that I'm going to plant. But as we lift this up, what I do is I just pick everything off the one that has the most on it. So I've got to say there aren't lots with that much on them, but there are still, that one's got quite a good amount. So I'm literally I'll just pull everything off of that, and I'll use what's good. You might find some of it has got a little bit too much slug damage, but there will be plenty that will be perfectly good for eating. Generally speaking, it's the ones towards the top that are better, see? And it's the ones at the bottom that have been attacked a little bit more. Unfortunately, this time of year, you're going to get quite a lot of slug damage. There's not a lot you can do about it, so you've just got to accept it and be glad that you've got some kale to still harvest. Like I've said before, I keep my kale covered because if I don't, the birds will attack it and I won't have any. Well, that's my experience up at the allotment. Got a nice selection of kale there. Now, one of my favourite recipes is crispy kale, or sometimes we stir it into curries or rice dishes. Now, it'd be really great to hear what you're doing with your kale and what recipes you do and what your favourites are. Something else I can harvest, or I'm not going to do any today, I have still got chard. So the little leaves I can pop into salads, which is quite nice because there's not a lot of our own salad things this time of year. So the little leaves I can pop in salad, or I can sweat these down and again put these in stews and casseroles. So it's a really good staple for the allotment. Unfortunately, mine's been attacked by the birds a little bit, but I have still got some lovely little plants there. So if I need some of that, I can come and pick that too. So as we move down, I have harvested all my leeks now because I'm at the point where I need to get this ground cleared for what's going to go in its place, because potatoes are going to go in this area, so I need to clear it. And I also need to clear it because if I left the leeks in the ground, they could start to bolt in March, and I don't want to waste my precious leeks. So leeks are something that are a real favourite in our household, and we just quite often just traditionally slice them and steam them. That's probably our favourite way of doing them, but I have put them in curries and things like that. I've got a recipe for a leek curry, so I'd be really interested to know what you do with your leeks and if you've got any leeks in your allotment this year. So they go in the basket. There we go. It's one of my son's favourite vegetables, so we do grow a lot of leeks every year. There we go. As we move over, as you can see, the basket is really starting to fill up, so it might be March, but there's still plenty of stuff in my allotment. As we move over, I've been digging up, I had some beetroots here and some parsnips. So the beetroots are really at the tail end, and on first glance they looked really poor, and actually I thought I was going to dig them up and throw them all away because the slugs had really had a good go at them. But when I looked more closely, some of them actually I didn't think were too bad a size. They're not the biggest ones in the world, but when you buy pickled beetroots, they're quite often not very big. So I picked out the ones that had little or no slug damage on, and I thought would be actually quite nice in a salad. So I've picked those out, so they're going to be taken home and they'll go in the basket. Quite often I just boil these and put them in with salads. If they're a little bit larger, I do grate them and make a salad with cumin and orange juice and lemon, which is really lovely, out of a River Cottage book. That's one of my favourite things. Or sometimes I do beetroot brownies, but I think these are a bit too wee for that, so I'll probably just cook them and just have them in salads or roast them. So the other thing I've been harvesting are my parsnips. They suffered a similar fate in the fact that some of those have been nibbled a little bit, but not too bad. So I dug all the parsnips up, bar a little bit of the road there for another day, and picked out the ones that I thought I could still do something with. So obviously some of them are bigger than others. I quite like a bit of roasted parsnip or parsnip mash, and I've got a really lovely parsnip soup that I quite often get out, especially this time of year when I'm digging up the last of my parsnips. So I'd love to know what you do with your parsnips and some recipes that maybe I could cook mine with to give myself a little bit more creativity. So I'm running out of room in this basket now. So I think I'll have to go and get a bucket or something to take the rest home. So we've actually walked up here today, so this is going to be interesting. I've probably got more than I can carry back, so I might have to do 2 journeys, because we always come up here and walk up and walk back if we can for the added exercise. I feel it gives me a good start to the day. So as we move over, I've got my turnips. Again, we're at the tail end of these, so I will be digging these up during March because they're not going to do an awful lot more. As you can see, some of them really aren't up to much, but some of them, you know, again, you know, not a bad size. You know, perfectly okay to roast or to mash. So it's an unusual vegetable. I think I grow it because it's really quite easy to grow. I've got to say, it's not my most favourite vegetable, so if I do mash it, I often mash it with something else, because if it's combined with like mashed squash or maybe with some of that parsnip that I've dug up, it improves the flavour a little bit. So if anyone's got any creative recipes to improve the flavour of a turnip, I would be more than grateful. So I really hope you've enjoyed the harvest that I've done today, and I'd love to know what you're harvesting and what you do with the things when you harvest them, what your favourite recipes are. If you've got any questions or queries, then as ever, please do put them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them.